Morning, Chair Gerrit Pretorius.
Good morning, Chairperson and the Minister and members and the department. Mesuli Kama.
Goeiemôre almal, Rachel van Vogel.
Good morning, Chair. Ayanda Burns.
Goeiemôre en baie dankie almal. I'm now going to hand over to the Minister and then to the department.
Goeiemôre, good morning, everyone. Is Andrew Marais speaking. And then HOD, you can introduce yourself and everyone. Thank you.
Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Chairperson. I'm in the boardroom with my colleagues, and perhaps just to confirm that they're here, I'm going to ask them to quickly introduce themselves. CFO.
Good morning, Chair and members and colleagues. Brenda Rodriguez, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Chair, members, Minister Calvin Blake, Chief Director, Cultural Affairs.
Good morning, members. Daniel Manuel, Director responsible for Sports Development.
Good morning, members. Michael Janssen van Rensburg, Director for Museums, Heritage and Geographical Names.
Good morning, Sean Judy, Director, Strategic and Operational Management Support.
Morning, members. My name is Tabu Sport Promotion Director.
Morning, members. I'm Nomaza Dinayo, Director, Provincial.
Good morning, all. I'm Cecilia Sani, Director, Library Service.
Morning, all. Dion Berger, Officer of the HOD.
Morning, all. Jackie Ball, Youth and After School Program.
Morning, Stephanie Thomas, Planning.
In Chairperson, we've got Dr. Bower on the platform. If Dr. Bower can just confirm.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Minister and HOD. Brendan Bower, Chief Director, Sport and Recreation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much and good morning to everybody online. It is great to have you here. Colleagues, as I said, we are here today to table and discuss vote 13, Cultural Affairs and Sports, as part of the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2023. I just want to check, Wasim, did we receive any apologies or are there any alternates standing in for anybody today?
Good morning, Chairperson, Minister and officials. There are no apologies have been received, and I think that the alternates are just in additional capacity today because a permanent member is in the meeting.
Perfect. Now, thank you very much. As I outlined, we're here to discuss vote 13, Cultural Affairs and Sports, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriations Bill. I'm now going to ask the Minister and the HOD to make any opening or introductory remarks if they wish.
Thank you, Chairperson. And nothing from my side at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the members for the opportunity to table the DCAS 2023 adjustment budget. With this adjustment budget, Chairperson, we've taken great care to ensure that the choices we made during this difficult time were aligned with the provincial priorities of growth for jobs, safety and well-being, as well as the enablers for innovation, culture and governance. We have also ensured that we protect those parts of DCAS's business that had the best probabilities for long-term impacts by intervening upstream through providing protective factors and dealing with causal linkages for social ills that are currently plaguing our society, rather than dealing with the symptoms as we pursue to close the tap rather than continue with the mop. The department's budget decreased by 7.2 million from a main appropriation of 895,529,000 to an adjusted appropriation of 888,290,000. The budget reduction is mainly due to fiscal consolidation due to the bleak economic and fiscal environment, and the reduction of conditional grants with the EPWP being reduced by 336,000, and the mass participation sport development grant, which we get from the National Department, reduced by 4.5 million. While the budgets decreased, the impact of the wage agreement was funded by Provincial Treasury. The department also received rollovers from the previous financial year in the amount of 4.2 million, mainly relating to committed funds at the end of the previous financial year for goods and services. An amount of 3.8 million was shifted from Vote 5, Education Department, to DCAS in partnership with the Year Beyond program for the at-home learning program, which aims to promote a stronger culture of learning in homes and in the community in support of the Back on Track intervention, and a further amount of 2 million for the Shukuma Moving Mindset program, which aims to equip learners with social and emotional skills to regulate their emotions and slow down their responses to violence and respond in healthy and responsible ways. The department shifted an amount of 7.4 million to Vote 1, Department of the Premier, in support of the ECM rollout for resources and contracts. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much for that overview, HOD. It is much appreciated. Members, can I just check that you've all received the budget?
Yes.
Yes, Chair.
Perfect. I am then now tabling the budget for discussion. And I'm now going to ask if members have any specific questions. They can now ask questions. Let me just go to the hands. I see Member Kama, then Member Bartman, then Member Pretorius, and then Member Barnes.
May I, Chair?
Yes, you may.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning to everyone once again. I think, Chair, if you may allow me, I once again want to thank the HOD and his team for the work they are doing in the department and the meeting we had quite recently around the initiation challenges, in terms of the community stakeholders that are there, and applaud their commitment to resolve the issues that are there on the ground. And I would in that, I think for interest's sake, Chair, want to get an understanding from the HOD in terms of this budget. I hear the overview was given. Now, in terms of this budget or these adjustments, will this season or the initiation programs be affected in any way as a result of the budget cuts? But on 305, Chair, and talking to the decrease that the HOD has just mentioned, I think one has always made the point, or not missed the opportunity to make the point, that this department is not sufficiently funded to fulfill what is presented out there to be its mandate, and for that reason, these cuts really come as a shock and unacceptable to some of us. Now, I would want to check with the HOD and the MEC as to in the engagements with Treasury regarding a possible prevention of the cuts, and even possibly getting an increase, even if it's funded through the provincial reserve. Has there been those engagements? I understand what was raised now as the difficult fiscal environment and the austerity measures that are put in place. But I just want to check the possibility of engagements that would have happened to prevent the cuts in this particular department, as it is already getting less for what it must be able to achieve. The second to last question I have on 306 and 307 in terms of the rollovers that the HOD was talking about. If we can get updates on the projects for which the rollovers were made, including the feasibility study of the Congo Caves, and if we can get more information on this alternative library service model, and whether what are the updates in terms of that investigation. And on 306, when I read for in the table there, in terms of the compensation of employees and the goods and services, if I read it correctly, I see that over about 17 million rand has been taken away. What are the reasons for this, and how many employees are affected, and which goods and services were affected? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Bartman.
Thank you so much, Chair. Chair, I want to join the call regarding the hard work that this department is doing in terms of the programs, and especially since this department is one of those departments that's not just experiencing a budget cut as being affected by the National Public Wage Bill that has been agreed for provinces. It is also, according to page 311 of the adjustment budget, as well as the division of revenue, experiencing a 4.5 million rand budget cut in the national conditional grant of mass participation and sport development, as well as 336,000 rand budget cut in the National Department's Social Sector Expanded Works Program. So this department is suffering on multiple levels, and this is in context of the 2023 Stabilization Fund and Provincial Treasury being completely depleted of the 400 million rand that it put towards public wages in the whole province. My particular question that I would like to ask firstly is if it would be possible for us to firstly being able to engage the National Department regarding the particular conditional grant cuts affecting this particular department, and whether the Minister and or HOD has engaged the respective national departments as to try and prevent these national budget cuts in the conditional grants. And secondly, I see that is similarly on page 311 that money from the education votes, both the Year Beyond Home Learning Program and Shakuma, is moving to sports and recreation. And I just wanted some more clarity on whether DCAS will be implementing these programs now, and if so, will the program of these programs remain the same? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Pretorius.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just out of interest, page 311, under other adjustments, and on page 316, it falls under details of revenue sources. Program 3, Library and Archive Services, 4.2 million rand, sorry, in respect of transfers to municipalities to cover existing funding shortfalls. If we can just get some, I have difficulty in understanding why municipalities give money back and not spend it. If we can get some elaboration on that, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Barnes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm looking at page 312 and 313. The tables is 13.3 on actual payments and revised spending projects. Chair, when I look at these two tables on this pages 312 and 313, there's always a slow spending on library service and sport and recreation in the first half of the year. What could be the reasons for this, and what is the likelihood of underspending? If perhaps one can get an explanation on that. And then my last question, Chair, is on page 315 to 316, also under table 13.5, under Asset Finance Reserve Provincial Revenue Fund. Chair, does this mean the department received 7 million? I want clarity on this, if the department received 7 million from Provincial Revenue Fund, and if so, what are the funds earmarked for? And then on page 316, there is an amount of 4.2 million. I think there was now a discussion around that. I want to join Member Pretorius on his questions. I think he elaborated further. Let me back here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll now hand over to the department for responses to those questions.
Thank you very much, Chair. Different colleagues around the table will respond and they'll introduce themselves each time just so that you know who's speaking. I will begin with the first questions, the initiation program. The initiation program is one of the ones we protected. It did not receive a cut this time round. All the money that had previously been allocated for it has been retained. So it will be unaffected by this round of cuts. And also over the MTEC, but just in terms of this adjustment budget, it was not affected. Have there been engagements? Yes, there have been engagements. This is the question about the have there been any engagements to try and perhaps prevent DCAS from being cut or limit the cut to DCAS. We did our engagements via the process of the MTEC, and we made a very strong case about DCAS and case that we've been making over the past 3 years, that the work that DCAS does is very preventative in nature, and that if you invest in DCAS, you are able to have an impact on most of the things that the other departments are dealing with, whether it's social development, Department of Health, etc. We have an impact on their outcomes because we are able to intervene at this stage where we are able to prevent our young people from being involved in risk-taking behavior. To that end, we believe the cut is not as bad as it could have been. The original one was 27 million, and CFO, how much did you get that again?
7.2 million after the 27 million.
Yeah.
So effectively, that was 7.2.
Yeah, so our cut was then reduced to 7.2 million. Originally, when we went into the process, it was 27 million. So we're thinking that there was a positive response to our plea. The nature of these cuts, Chair, is quite. It's very difficult for any department to survive. This is unprecedented. So we knew that we would not come out of this process unscathed, but we think we came off slightly better than the other departments. The colleagues are going to update individually on the projects for which we were able to receive our rollovers, and CFO will cover the amount, the question around the 17 million for goods and services. I will go to Member Bartman's question around engagement with the National Department. Yes, the Minister and I have engaged with the National Department around the conditional grants. We were successful with the library grant. The Western Cape Library Conditional Grant was one of, I think, how many were not cut? Only the Western Cape Conditional Grant was not cut in this adjustment budget. All the other provinces received cuts. And that means our engagements with the National Department were successful because we told them that performance needs to go into their criteria for cutting. And because the Western Cape spends 100% of its conditional grant every year, a decision was taken not to cut Western Cape. Unfortunately, on the sports side, the impact was quite dire, and we suffered cuts in that area to the tune of 4.5 million. I'd now like to hand over to Jackie to talk on the question of Shukuma, and also before she steps down, talk about the program that she was responsible for that received a rollover. So start, Jackie.
Great, thanks very much. So just on Shukuma and the at-home learning program, both those programs are sub-projects of Year Beyond. And so we have been implementing those programs, but they are collaborative programs. And so we have an allocation from WCD on both those programs because they work in schools. And in order to avoid confusing multiple budget holders, they did the adjustment to transfer the funds to us, but both those programs are being implemented. There is no change to either program. Shukuma works with grade 8 and 9 learners on cognitive, behavioral, social, emotional skills, particularly focused on anger management. And at-home learning works with learners at risk with high levels of absenteeism or behavioral challenges by putting young people into communities, working with caregivers, offering walking buses to learners to school and after-school activities through them. So in terms of those two programs, and both programs DCAS co-funds, so they're not just funded by WCD, we also co-fund in terms of the youth component of them. Then on the rollover, we received 2 amounts on the rollover. The first one was to complete the norms and standards assessment that was done, which was a transversal youth forum initiative funded by PT to assess all the major youth programs against the norms and standards. And 50% of that was rolled over because the report hadn't been finalized before we concluded the year. And so that was the first amount. And the second amount of rollover received was towards Year Beyond and some of the training costs in relation to Year Beyond.
Thank you very much.
Which again happened at the end of the financial year and could not be processed within the financial year.
Thanks, Jackie. Michael, can you cover the
Kango Caves?
Kango Caves, thank you.
Thank you, HOD. So just to cover Member Palmer's question on the rollover for the Kango Caves, we received 2 amounts. One was 1 million for a feasibility study on potential public-private partnership, and then also 500,000 for a costing study to be done related to the conservation measures that needed for the Kango Caves. For the first one, the 1 million for the feasibility study on the public-private partnership, when we initially went out for tender, the quotations that we received was over 3 million. And so we didn't have sufficient budget to follow through on that process. That required us to relook at the specifications. We then accordingly revised it. And subsequent to that, we received quotations for a far more reasonable price, just sub 500,000 rand. That feasibility study was completed in June, July, but we first wanted to also get comments, inputs from the Oversight municipality. This has subsequently happened. And then on the one for the 500K, that one, the service provider was appointed, I think, in February of 2023, and they were unable to complete all the necessary work, and so a portion of the funding had to be rolled over. They also supplied the necessary reports in June and July of 2023. And similar, we wanted to just get the inputs from the Oversight municipality before we finalize the project. Thank you.
Okay, Cecilia.
Okay. First of all, good morning, everyone. I will respond to our rollover. So for library service, we only had 500,000 rolled over, and that is to fund our think tank for the alternative library service delivery model that we will be hosting in Q4. Talking about the alternative library service model, the update in that regard is that we have created a steercom within DCAS to look at our integrated model between archives, museums, and library services, and there's investigation ongoing in that regard. And then we will have our think tank of experts in Q4. With regards to why municipalities are giving back funding, they have been struggling with filling posts. So most of it is claiming on COE, and that's when it's returned to the department. What we then try and do is to reallocate.
Ms. Sani, we seem to have lost you there.
Chairperson, just going to continue on a different device. The device that we are using primarily has just started updating. So Cecilia will continue.
No worries.
Yes,
Yes,
so
it's mostly COE funding that was unspent, and what we do
in that
is we try and reallocate it back to municipalities
for small
maintenance projects or things like that they can then still spend
within the last 6 months of their financial. One of the big contributors for the slow spending that was asked for library service the first 6 months was we were still recovering from the SLIMS crash, which had an impact on our book purchasing. So that has now picked up.
I've lost sound. I've lost all sound.
We seem to have lost Masani again. Let's just give her a minute to reconnect.
Okay, Cecilia, can you talk?
Yes, can you hear me? I'm not sure where you lost me.
The last I heard clearly was that a lot of the returned funds from municipalities was due to not being able to fill posts, and the money is being reallocated.
Yes, that's correct. And then the last question that was directed at library service was why we underspent within the first 6 months, and will we be spending in by the end of the year? Most definitely. The slow spending was mainly due to our procurement on books, which was still a backlash from recovering from the SLIMS recovery, but we're all back on track now. We're very confident that our funds will be spent, and then our transfer schedule payments also only starts in Q2. So it seems like our spending in the first quarter is little, but yeah, so we are fully assured that we will spend our funding by the end of the financial year. It's all been allocated and committed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. And then on the sports side, in the first quarter, mostly we allow the federations to do their AGMs and submit their audited financials, and there's normally a delay in that process. So that has an impact on our spending in the first 2 quarters, but we've sort of caught up already with that spend. I'm just trying to look at which other questions are still outstanding. Covered Shukuma, by municipalities return funds. Cecilia, did you cover the question around the 4.2 million returning of funds by municipalities? Okay. CFO, then can you cover the 17 million for goods and services?
Thank you, HOD. So that was a question from member Comm.
Comm, yes.
So the 17.5 million is a combination of compensation of employees and goods and services. So within COE, if you look at the amounts that makes up the 2.1 million, it's the 1.7 million, which was shifted to households to cover the cost of leave gratuity due to either resignations or retirements. The 363 under the column other adjustments, that is the net effect of the fiscal consolidation. And if you go to goods and services, the 19.9 million, that is a combination of, if you go to page 311, it gives you an indication of what the shifts or the increases were, in other words, what the net effect of the 19.9 million is. So it's a combination of other adjustments, which includes your revenue retention of 3.2 million. It includes increased own revenue. It includes shifting of funds between both, and then the realignment due to fiscal consolidation. And so that basically makes up the 17.5. But just to give some comfort, it did not affect, our posts were not affected. If you look at the COE, that was not posts. The 363 was a realignment, in other adjustments, the realignment of the COE budget, and the 1.7 million was a shift to households to cover the expenditure related to leave gratuity.
This question from Member Barnes. Did the department receive 7 million
in own revenue? So our own revenue, Member Barnes, is only 2.6 million. It's not 7 million. And the 2.6 million is made up of museums entrance fees and fines and penalties, basically. That's our main revenue streams.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think we've covered all the first round of questions.
Thank you very much. I think you have. I am just looking at the members to see if there are any follow-up questions or any new questions. I'm also just welcoming Member Kasim, who has joined us as well. Colleagues, do you have any other questions? Members, I'm going to ask again, are there any other questions from your side?
None from me, Chair.
So members are all covered. That's good. That means the explanations were very good. I'm just checking as well, Wasim, do we have anybody from the public who have indicated that they'd like to ask any questions?
Chairperson, I have not received any requests for oral or written submissions.
Perfect. With that, HOD and department, thank you very much for your thorough responses. I'm now going to ask if the HOD and the Minister would like to make any closing remarks before we excuse the department and go on to our discussions.
I think from me, Minister, Chairperson, I'd like to hand over to the Minister.
Thank you so much, HOD. Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to say thank you for the way we engage with you as the standing committee. And we know that, you know, with the fiscal environment that we are in, we still do an absolute wonderful, if I can say, job in the province. And thank you to everyone of the department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think we all do agree that you have mastered the art of doing a lot with very little, and we wish you well because the fiscal environment is also just going to become more and more constrained. So thank you to you, the HOD, and to all the officials from the department. You are welcome to all go back to work, and the committee members will stay behind.
So this was no work.
Thank you, Chairperson.
This was just an outing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Members, may I ask if any of you have any resolutions or requests for information or recommendations based on that first part of the meeting? Member Kama?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I don't know, Chair, in terms of our program for next year, but one would love to get a presentation on this feasibility study, especially the one on the Congo caves, on the outcomes of the feasibility study. I don't know if it's possible to do that in a form of an oversight visit to the Congo caves themselves, so that we also get more about the Congo caves, and on the way we can also couple it with a visit to the Diaz Museum. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Kama. Any other resolutions or requests for information? Okay, I don't see any other hands. Okay, Wasim, have you got that? So we've got that one. So that's some more information on the feasibility study on the Congo caves, and then possibly a visit to the Congo caves. Wasim, are we able to then move on to the adoption of the report? Colleagues, so what you'll see on the screen at the moment is the draft report, which will read the report of the Standing Committee on Police Oversight, Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sport on Vote 13, Cultural Affairs and Sports, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill, B7 of 2023, dated 29 November. The report will read as follows. The Standing Committee on Police Oversight and Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sports, having deliberated on the subject of Vote 13, Cultural Affairs and Sports, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B7 of 2023, referred to the committee in terms of Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports or does not support the vote. Can I get an indication from members? Member Bartman? Quick.
Thank you, Chair. I think given the enormous constraints given the public wage bill, and especially the cuts in the mass participation and sport development grant, as well as the cut in the social sector expanded works grant, this department has been doing very well under tough circumstances, and I propose that we support the vote.
Thank you very much, Member Bartman. May we have a seconder for that proposal? Member Pretorius?
Chair, I second the proposal.
Thank you very much. So, Member Kama, I see your hand. Do you want to second it?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think as the ANC, we are convinced that the decrease could have been avoided. And therefore, in terms of Rule 90, Chair, we want the minority view of the ANC not to support the bill to be recorded in the report. Thank
you very much, Member Kama. So you're saying that you think the decrease could have been avoided. I think we were all hoping that national government was not going to cut the budget so drastically, especially this massive in-year cut. So we all hope that it could have been avoided. But if only wishing made it so. So members, the report
will expand in the debate.
Perfect. The report will then read that the Standing Committee on Police Oversight, Community Safety, Cultural Affairs and Sports, having deliberated on the subject of Vote 13, Cultural Affairs and Sports, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B7 of 2023, referred to the committee in terms of Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote in accordance with Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress expressed its minority view not to support the vote. That is our report, members. And Member Bartman, I was going to ask if anybody can just support the report as is, but I see your hand is already up.
Thank you, Chair. I move to support the report.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I don't think we need a seconder, but can we have a seconder?
I second the adoption of the report, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Kama. Colleagues, that then takes care of the budget. And we then have the report is on the screen, so you can all see the report. I'm now going to ask that our procedural officer please flight some of the documents that we need to adopt. So the first document on your screen at the moment is our draft report on the annual report for the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports, the Western Cape Language Committee, and the Western Cape Cultural Commission for the financial year 2022-2023. That is the cover page. We'll now move on to page 1. And if you'd like to make any changes, please let me know. So we'll move on to the next page. And then the next page details the discussion on the department. And that's the final page. Members, are there any additions or clear omissions that you feel that we need to include? I don't see any hands. May I then submit the report for adoption, Member Bartman?
Move to adopt.
Thank you very much. May we have a seconder?
I second the adoption, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Kama. We'll then list the next document. This will be our minutes from that meeting. So we're now tabling page 1. Page 2, which deals with the substantive part of the meeting. Are there any changes or glaring omissions that we need to take into account? If not, I now table the minutes for adoption. I see Member Kama.
I move to adopt, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Bartman.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. And then the last set of documents we have is a oversight report, I think. There we go. That is the committee's oversight visit to the Western Cape Archives and Records. The first page outlines attendance and also gives a bit of an introduction. Then we deal with the meat of the discussion that we had at the archive, as well as the very informative tour we did. And then we adopt some of the resolutions. I'm now tabling this oversight report for adoption. May we have a supporter for the adoption of this report? Member Bartman. And
Move to adopt.
Thank you very much, Member Bartman. I think the only other person that can second is either myself or who else was there? Member Fry,
Barnes.
and Member Barnes. Yes, Member Windvogel, Member Barnes was also there. And so Member Barnes, will you second?
I'm seconding, Chair.
Yes, we need to have another visit to the archives. That was a fun visit. Wasim, have we dealt with all of the documents?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the committee as well for getting through all these documents. We've seen to everything.
Thank you very much to you. Wasim, this is our last meeting for the year, right?
Yes, Chairperson.
Well, we'll see each other in the house, but we won't see each other in cultural affairs and sports. So members, with that, I want to say thank you very much to all of you for this year. It's been a lot of fun, and a special thank you to Mr. Wasim Matthews for making sure that we are always operating efficiently and effectively, and for going above and beyond. It has really been an interesting year. We will also, before we close for the year, share the committee's program for the first part of next year, and to make sure that we've got that on the parliamentary program. But with that, thank you for your time. This meeting is thus adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.